Here's the results from last week. You won't see the overall average, just a little bit lower, but after 15 is more difficult. But 5 people got 100%, a lot of people up in the 90s and fell off.
And I'm assuming the retake was still lower?
The retake was 66, the initial was 67. But out of the retake, 26 retakes, average was 66.
Yeah.
Well, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock last night, I saw people asking for retakes. You can't do a retake in 1 hour, 2 hours in chapter 15, it's possible. But there were people asking for retakes, so they're sitting in here, they're sitting in here. I don't have time. I mean, I'd love to talk to those students and understand what their strategy is. I assume they hope that they can look at their first attempt and get repeated questions and just copy. I think that's what they're hoping. But can't do it. Okay, I'll close that down. Okay, there's 2 handouts to help you and me today. Help you and me. Oh, very well. You're okay. You're gonna be okay. You're okay. What'd you do? It finally finished. Okay. You're okay. Okay, folks. It is 1:30. Let's start. Now. No, wait. There is 2 handouts down the front. The 2 handouts, people just coming in, there's 2 handouts down the front. The 2 handouts that to facilitate everything that we have to do today, and I'll give you another handout on Wednesday. Now listen, if you get behind, I don't think there'll be time for me to stop to come to your machine. I won't be able to do that. Now listen, be positive. I don't want any crybabies. Okay? And don't and while you're sitting there. It's not kindergarten, it's university. What we're doing is extremely difficult, but you can do it. This is very real world. In the real world, Siemens today, Lockheed today, transactions are taking place, right? All firms, Walmart Superstore, the Lockheed Martin, transactions are taking place. And when those transactions take place, where's all the data going? It's going to a database. Going to a database. Okay? Going out to a database. Now, you and me, accountants, we need to go to that database and get data. Everyone agree? And in the real world, because we're in the United States, most of the time the database will be IBM's database, which is called DB2, that's the name of it, or it's Microsoft's database, it's called Microsoft SQL Server, or it's Oracle's database, it's called Oracle. Now, if you're in Europe, you're in Eastern Europe, they've got some unique databases that are popular in their countries. But all databases work basically the same. There are pros and cons of one database over another. People just coming in, there's 2 handouts over here on the end table. Now, I can't give you Oracle, I can't give you SQL Server. Those databases cost a lot of money, the annual licensing fees, tremendously high. But there's a toy, I'm not being rude and insulting, there's a toy in Office called Access. And because it's a toy, the real world can't use it, but we can use it in the educational environment. It is a database, but it's free. So what's the difference between that and SQL Server that costs tens of thousands of dollars? Well, SQL Server, when there's problems in the real world, Oracle, DB2, when there's problems, those databases can handle it. Access, when there's a problem, crash, down it goes. But it does have what we need. What do we need? Some of you may know the expressions, one to many to many. Who's heard of those expressions? Okay, one to many are what are called the data relationships. So Access has got it, and of course the real databases have it. But that's where Access stops. It doesn't have all the nice features for crashes. Proper databases can handle crashes, what's called rolling back to 10 minutes ago so you can restore. Access doesn't have any of that. It crashes, you lose everything. Okay? Anybody else need the handout? Okay. So the database at wherever you're working, you and I will not be allowed to touch it, because that database is under the control of people who are specialists with databases. That's how serious this is. Well, I can't give you access to the university database, so what I did is I took Access and I created 50,000 records. Why 50,000? Well, I wanted you to see that what we're doing, it doesn't matter whether it's 5 records, 5,000 or 50,000. I just wanted a lot of records so you could see, man, this works. And it's easy. It really is. It's easy when you know how. People just coming in, there's 2 handouts that you need for today down the front here. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, first of all, and I asked you to do it because I'm not going to take time right now, is download the database and put it in a folder on your laptop. Okay, and I assume you've all done that. Okay, and I know I've spoken with some of you, and I know you have it downloaded. Good. Now, that database, wherever you go to work, you can get access to it. And wherever it's located, it won't move. You can't go moving a database. So I've asked you to put it in a folder. I suggested a name, ACG 3361. So wherever you've got it, leave it there. Now, we don't need to open it. Some of you I know have opened it, but that's okay. We don't need to open it. In the real world, you're not allowed to open the database. So we don't need to open it. What we're going to do is I've got Excel open, I've got my assignment, which you know I'm in the system, Paul Goldwater, quiz 16. Now, the instructions. Here are the instructions. So we get down here and I say refer to the step-by-step procedures, and there's 2 handouts here that everybody needs. So if you don't have it, come get the 2 handouts. What have I done? Well, everything that's in here is on this handout that is landscape. And everything, because I don't want you to have to scroll backwards and forwards, everything here is on this handout, which is portrait. Okay, so I've printed it all out so you're not scrolling backwards and forwards and getting totally confused. See what I've done for you?
Yes.
So we can do what's on the instructions. Now, listen. The one that is portrait here is what I will give students next semester. What is on this piece of paper is what I'm going to give you this semester. I'm holding your hand here. Okay? I'm holding your hand. And on Wednesday, there'll be another piece of paper. So, I'm going to see how well we do to know what to leave out next semester. Okay? So, let's get started. I'm using my landscape piece of paper. Landscape. So, line 7. Download the database. I asked you to do that. Come to class with it already downloaded. Okay? Store the Del Monte database in a folder. Line 9. Now let's jump to 12. Select cell A100. Okay? Gone all the way down to A100. Everyone with me? Now let's go to step 2. Insert pivot table. Insert pivot table. Select use an external data source. Everyone okay? Choose the connection. Now, Excel comes with the capability to connect to Access, to Oracle, to IBM, and to Microsoft SQL Server. It comes with those drivers built into Excel. But if we were in Eastern Europe right now, we would have to go and get a special download to handle some of their proprietary databases. Okay? So, what we're about to do in Access looks easy. It is, but it's easy also for IBM and Oracle. Question?
For any of my Mac people, it's saying something about Microsoft Query not being installed. If any of you guys figure that out?
I was getting messages that said I need to download additional drivers, yeah.
So you're kind of in the same spot where you can't do much?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on a Mac, you may not have a full installation of everything you need. So you're able to progress?
No, I'm looking for drivers, but.
You're looking, yeah. Yeah, the people on all the Windows-based machines are going to be okay. Now, choose Browse. Choose Browse, bottom left-hand corner. Choose Browse for more. And what I want you to do now is browse to the folder where you have the Del Monte database. So I have browse, and I'm now pointing to the Del Monte database. So if you were over the road at Siemens, over the road at Siemens, you would navigate, I hope you're okay when I say navigate to where they have the main database. And of course it won't be Access, it would be Oracle, and you would point to Oracle, and Excel knows how to read it. That's how powerful Excel is. Okay? You ready for me to keep going? Okay, so you can double click or choose open. I'll choose open. And when I choose open, here's where we were. It can now see everything inside that database. Now, just very quickly on a database. A database is many tables. Excel is a table. Excel is a table. What does that mean? Excel has rows and columns. Excel has a limited number of rows. Limited. It's a little over 1 million rows. And it has 1,025, I think it is, columns. I forget the number of columns. But it's just over 1 million rows, over 1,000 columns. With a database, you have unlimited rows. There is no limitation. There is no limitation, except the size of the hard drive. You can't go past the physical dimensions of the drive. So a database is not too different from Excel. But Excel is only one table. When you're looking at a sheet, you have rows, you have columns. When you're looking at a database, each one of these is a separate table. Okay? And that's not for this class, but for your systems class. Now, I want you to choose query 1. Query 1. So if we go back to our sheet, line 14, use an external data source. 15, choose connection. 16, browse. Navigate to the folder where you have the database, line 17. 18, select the Del Monte database. 19, select query 1. Select query 1. Now, query 1 is, if I showed it to you, query 1, if I showed it to you, looks a little intimidating, but it's not. It's not. Now, what you got to know is that with a database is what's called one-to-many and many-to-many data relationships. One professor, many students. That's easy. I have a relationship. You're my student, and I'm your professor. Let's go into the real world. Scene. One employee has many paychecks. One vendor, I have many purchase orders to the one vendor. One-to-many is the most common relationship. One-to-many. How common? Well, there's been estimates based on surveys that 80% of data relationships are one-to-many. Easy. It's trivial. This is easy. This one here is a nightmare. But it only makes up maybe 20% of data relationships in the real world. Now, what's the implications for you and me? Well, when I wrote that query, if I showed it to you, it looks a little intimidating, but it's all one-to-many. There is no many-to-many relationships in there. So let's just hang on to this for a moment, stay on this point. If we're at Siemens and you're going to do this, 90% of the time you can do it by yourself. Because what you're working with is one-to-many data relationships. It's easy. It's easy. Once you've done one, you'll find that it's not difficult. But many-to-many, there are specialists that can handle that and help you. So at Siemens, if we were at Siemens or Lockheed Martin, and we had a many-to-many data relationship situation, let me give you one. Here is a student that has many classes, and each class has many students, so many-to-many data relationship. That is very difficult in the real world, okay? Very difficult. And the student class one is the one that's always used for demonstration. Because students, you know you're in many classes, and if you take every class, it has many students, so it's a many-to-many data relationship. Now in the real world, if we are confronted with many-to-many, there will be people at Siemens, at Lockheed Martin, they're not accountants, they're computer science graduates that are very good at it. When I was helping Florida Hospital, I had a many-to-many, and they had a consultant there. That's all he does, is many-to-many relationships. So I asked him to write it for me. What would have taken me 2 weeks, I bet he did it in 10 minutes. Because that's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. Okay? So there's specialists that will help you with this. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm at row 19. Choose OK. Choose OK. Choose OK again. And you see the mouse? Well, it was going out to my flash drive. I'm reading off a flash drive. And those people who are reading off your hard drive was pretty fast, wasn't it? Wasn't it pretty fast on your machine? A lot faster than mine, because I was coming off a flash drive and you're coming off your hard drive. It just went out and read a database with 50,000 records. What did it take, a second? Yeah, it took me, what, about 5 seconds maybe. A lot longer because of the medium. Everyone else okay? Anyone need help? Are the Windows machines okay? All the Windows machines, are they okay? Is the Windows machine, are you okay? Up behind, okay? How are the Apple people doing? Chugging up the rear.
Sounds about right.
I found the driver,
You found the driver?
but it needs an additional Java update, so that's.
Yeah. Yes?
Every time I click open, it just pops up with data link properties. Instead of pulling up the table.
It doesn't pull it up?
No.
Okay. You probably have, do you have the free student version of, no, that's the problem. Go download. Here's what, folks, for those people that go home and try to do it at home, I know what's happening on her machine. When she goes to open up she points to the database and she clicks on open, it brings up the properties. She doesn't get the tables and the query. She's on Office 2007. What I have given you is an Access 210 database. I gave you Access 210. Access 2013 is the same. I created it in 210, but 2013 is the same. 2007 is totally different. So you've got to download 365, the student-free version will be fine. So for those that go home and do it, you've got to have either 210 or 213. It will not work in 27. Everyone okay?
Yeah.
Folks, this is, I say again, this is big what we're doing. Okay? But most of you are doing fine, right? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so what we've done is Excel has created, you know what you're looking at here, a pivot table template, and it's pulled up all the fields that are in my query statement. It's gone out to the tables, it set the relationships, and it pulled it out of the database. Here it is, ready to work with. So now what we need to do is go to the bit that every student will get next semester, the portrait, go to pivot table, and we'll build the pivot table. Build the pivot table. So the first thing is, the pivot table. What we're going to do is, if you'll look at it, filter on row 22. If you look at the portrait sheet, row 22, the portrait sheet, not the landscape sheet, the portrait sheet. Row 22. Everyone with me? In 2010, it was called page field. So you notice I say filter/page. In 2013, it's now called filter. Microsoft changed the name. The effect is the same, but they did change the name between 10 and 13. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a filter page field called products description. Okay? So if you'll just click on products description and drop it into filter. Everyone done that?
Yes.
And if you'll click on the download, aha! If you went to, and use the scroll bar, if you went to the Del Monte site, that's all of the products on the Del Monte website. I went and copied it all and created this database of fictitious data. Okay? Okay, let's now go to column field, that 14. See that 14? I'm not sure how the hell that got there. I'll have to check at home, but ignore it. Ignore that 14. I don't know how that got there. Let's go to row field. Let's go to row field. We will drag batch size and put it in row. Look how fast this is. Folks, the data is out in the database. The database is not, the data is not sitting up in Excel. What we have is the pivot table. It's going out and getting that data, and it's fast on my flash drive. Now, let's go down to the data field. Okay, custom name is counter batch size. So the first thing we're going to do is take the batch size and drop it in values. Drop it in values. Now,